Chapter 51. I have killed, Chu Yang hesitated before saying. On the way from Qingyang village to mysterious Yuan city, he had encountered a few foolish thieves. It was also the first time he had killed someone. Strangely, he felt not the slightest disgust or nausea, but rather a faint curiosity. The old man continued to polish the mo blade in his hands, blew on the blade, and smiled. In our military camp, killing is a common occurrence. You'll quickly get used to it. As for the young fellow just now, he's from the Tong family of mysterious Yuan city, a wealthy clan. He's a bit arrogant, but don't take it to heart. Why would someone from the Tong family come here? Chu Yang asked, curious. Logically, a large clan like the Tong family shouldn't lack cultivation resources, and their strength might not even be inferior to the military camp, so why send their descendants to the camp? Our military camp might not be able to provide you with an abundance of cultivation resources or grant you any prestigious status or power, but if you come here, you will certainly learn two things, the old man replied with a chuckle. What things? Chu Yang asked. Valor and courage, the old man said, when suddenly a strong aura exploded from him as if a sea of blood had descended and boundless malice chi enveloped his being. Chu Yang was immediately startled. He felt like a lone boat in an endless ocean, utterly insignificant. Many clan descendants come here not for cultivation but to temper themselves. The old man laughed heartily, stood up, sheathed his mo blade, and with his laughter carried by the wind, walked off into the distance. Lad, you still have a long way to go. Yang, this place is quite suitable for you, Ink Elder said with a chuckle from within the ring. I will work hard. Chu Yang nodded and also stood up as he spoke. In the following days, Chu Yang gradually adapted to the life here. The young man named Tong Guan was the darling of the team with a good heart, just a bit proud, and the old man who had chatted with Chu Yang was called Wu Sanlang. It was said that during fights, his fierce spirit earned him the name, the commander of 10 of the 10-man squad was Feng Bing, a broad and burly man who wielded a pair of huge iron hammers with natural divine power. One day, after breakfast, Feng Bing gathered the squad and announced, we have a mission connected to the remnants of the Lianyan 13 thieves from years ago. Someone spotted them nearby Black Water Mountain. Eliminate them and each person will receive 1,000 merit points. Wow, the reward is quite generous this time. Someone said with a laugh, this is generous to you? Look at your ambition. If you could bring back the Azure Cloud battle body, I would give you 100,000 merit points. Feng Bing joked, if I had the Azure Cloud battle body, I wouldn't trade it for 1 billion merit points. The man laughed heartily. All right. Get ready. We set out at noon, Feng Bing ordered. As the squad scattered, only Chu Yang looked confused. What are the Lianyan 13 thieves? The Azure Cloud battle body? He found Wu Sanlang, who he had a good rapport with and had turned to him for advice over the past few days whenever he had questions. Do you know the legend of the 100 great battle bodies? Wu Sanlang asked with a smile. Chu Yang nodded. The Azure Cloud battle body is ranked 72nd among the battle bodies, Wu Sanlang explained. Long ago, at the base of Black Water Mountain, there was a village called Lianyan Village. In the village, there were 13 sworn brothers of different surnames. It is said that one day they accidentally dug up an Azure Cloud battle body bead under the big tree at the village entrance. After the eldest of the 13 brothers fused with the Azure Cloud battle body, their strength grew increasingly powerful and soon they began to harbor ill intentions. They took to Black Water Mountain to become outlaws, specifically to rob those passing by, and then? Chu Yang asked curiously. Later, someone posted a task at the True Martial Holy Sect to eradicate the Lianyan 13 thieves. Mo Sanlang said with a smile. Some elite disciples accepted the task and went there in person to wipe out the Lianyan 13 thieves. The head of the thieves died on the spot, and his 11 sworn brothers couldn't escape their fate either. It is said that only the lowest-ranked 13th master managed to flee with the cover of the others. So, the remnants we are going to eradicate this time are led by the 13th master who escaped back then? Chu Yang asked. More or less, whether this information is accurate or not is still unknown, Mo Sanlang said with a smile. So where did the Azure Cloud battle body end up? What? You're interested? Mo Sanlang glanced at Chu Yang and said, some say the Azure Cloud battle body was taken by that elite disciple of the True Martial Holy Sect, while others claim it was the 13th master who escaped with the Azure Cloud battle body bead. The stories vary. And there are even those who claim that there was no Azure Cloud battle body at all, suggesting everything was fabricated to target the Lianyan 13 thieves. No, just curious, Chu Yang said with a smile. At noon, with the sun blazing Overhead, the 10 members of the Blood Wolf Guard set off towards Blackwater Mountain. Blackwater Mountain, located to the east of mysterious Yuan City, is famous because of Blackwater River, which is heralded as the longest river of the extreme west region. It originates in the 100,000 mountains to the west, and its source in the east is said to extend beyond the borders of the extreme west region, reaching the center of the eastern continent. In the team, Chu Yang's cultivation was the lowest, only at the 7th layer of the spirit vein realm, while the others were almost all at the condensing vein realm, with the commander of 10, Feng Bing, being a peak condensing vein realm martial artist. When the party reached the base of the mountain, they saw it wasn't very tall, and dense jungles covered the entire mountain. They had just started climbing when they could hear the roaring sound of the Blackwater River below. Someone has been here. Emo Sanlang discovered a patch of blood at the side of some bushes. He smeared some blood on his hand and sniffed it, saying, "It's the blood of a rank 1 monster beast, the swift cloud leopard. Let's keep moving forward," Feng Bing said thoughtfully. After a moment, they continued on and soon came upon signs of combat. Several large trees around them had been snapped off, and the ground was riddled with deep pits and splattered with fresh blood. This blood hasn't dried yet, so it seems the fight must have ended not long ago, Emo Sanlang remarked. "Someone's there." Emo Sanlang had barely finished speaking when Tong Guan suddenly shouted explosively, his voice surging with spiritual energy and pale blue sparks twining around his feet. Using his flying lightning step, he took a step forward as if thunder itself was roaring and went straight to a nearby thicket, dragging out a man in a red robe. The man, just at the peak of the spirit vein realm, had dark yellow spiritual energy swirling around his fists and was surprisingly holding his own against Tong Guan. Feng Bing waved his hand, and aside from Chu Yang, the other 8 members of the squad swarmed up in an instant, quickly subduing the man. "If we can gang up on someone, there's no point in one-on-one fights. It's a waste of time and pointless," Feng Bing said, explaining to a surprised Chu Yang. Chu Yang hurriedly nodded his head. Then Feng Bing took a closer look at the captured man, and his face suddenly changed dramatically. Chapter 52. Subjects 41. Chapter 52. Ancient Nether Tribe. Feng Bing grabbed the man's right hand and pulled his sleeve up a bit. There was a tattoo on the man's arm, depicting an extremely ugly monster's head. Its skin was brown, and its face was particularly fierce. "Ancient Nether Tribe," Feng Bing said through gritted teeth upon seeing the tattoo. "What is the Ancient Nether Tribe?" Everyone present was very puzzled. "What's your purpose here?" Feng Bing, emotionally agitated, grabbed the man's collar and demanded with an ugly expression. The man revealed a mocking smile and made a strange sound from his mouth, like a bird calling. He's signaling to his accomplices. Feng Bing panicked and quickly killed the man with a palm strike. "It's too late. His companions must know something's gone wrong by now," Wu Sanlang said, frowning. "We were just investigating the Lianyun 13 thieves. How could it involve the Ancient Nether Tribe?" Feng Bing said with a headache. "Commander of 10, what exactly is the Ancient Nether Tribe?" Tong Guan voiced the question on everyone's minds. "A race that should not exist in this world," Feng Bing replied. "Actually, I myself only know very little and can't explain clearly right now. Should we continue the investigation?" Wu Sanlang asked. "Investigate? Why not? Let's go to the top of the mountain," Feng Bing said firmly, "but by doing so, it's already meaningless. Knowing that someone is coming, they would have already left or set a trap for us," Wu Sanlang said, troubled since the situation is unclear. "I think it's better to report back to the military camp first." "Don't worry, I have a plan," Feng Bing stated, and then took the lead towards the top of the mountain. The people present looked at each other helplessly and could only follow. "Ink Elder, why is Captain Feng so persistent? It feels kind of strange." Chu Yang, somewhat baffled, could only ask. "Ink Elder, do you know what's at stake with the Lianyun 13 thieves incident?" Ink Elder asked with a chuckle. "Azure Cloud Battle Body." Chu Yang was taken aback, feeling as if he had come to an understanding. The 100 great battle bodies, things not even a great emperor could easily obtain. "Do you think others would entrust it to just the 10 of you from the Blood Wolf Guard?" Ink Elder explained with a smile. "I get it now, we're just the vanguard." Chu Yang realized. No wonder Captain Feng was so persistent. Even if the enemy had set traps, he wasn't worried. The Blackwater River had a faint smell of blood, dividing the vast Blackwater Mountain in two. The dense trees were exceptionally tall and the soil underfoot was slightly damp. The group followed the path all the way to the top of Blackwater Mountain, strangely not encountering the traps or blockades they had Imagined there was no wind at the mountain peak and the air was somehow hot. The smooth journey made the Blood Wolf Guard feel that the opposition must have already fled, yet at the top, a group of people in red robes were quietly waiting for them. On the mountaintop stood a huge furnace with purple-blue flames that roared and crackled. Above the furnace, a cauldron full of fresh blood was bubbling tumultuously, and the hot vapor, carrying the stench of blood, wafted into the surrounding area. Along with the sunlight, above the blood, two beads were spinning and drifting. One of the beads was green and extremely smooth on the outside, the other was black with demonic chi surging on it, 2 of the 100 great battle bodies. Ink Elder exclaimed from within the ring, "What 200 great battle bodies?" Shu Yang was somewhat puzzled. That green bead is the Azure Cloud battle body, and the other black bead, if I'm not mistaken, should be the Dark Demon body, which ranks 51st among the 100 great battle bodies. Shu Yang stared intently at the 2 beads floating in the air. Next to the furnace, there was an elder in a red robe who watched over the furnace alone, occasionally stirring it with his hand. Standing beside him were also 3 men in red robes. 13th Master. "The rats have arrived," 2 of the men in red robes said respectfully to the man in the middle. Johnny, let's go meet them." 13th Master smiled and walked forward. "You are of the human race, yet you willingly become dogs for ancient Nether, truly a disgrace to our kind." Feng Bing said, looking at 13th Master with a look of disgust. "What's wrong with ancient Nether?" "You people are really funny," 13th Master said disdainfully. "As long as I have the power, what difference does it make whether it's evil or light? You were lucky to escape back then, and now you dare to come back to seek death." Feng Bing's spiritual energy surged as he slowly drew out his great hammer. "Wasn't it your Blood Wolf Guard who issued the task to eliminate us, the Lianyun 13 thieves, years ago at the True Martial Holy Sect?" 13th Master asked. "I'm not clear about the past." Feng Bing said lightly, daring to act but not to accept. "You all deserve to die." 13th Master's eyes exuded a light of hatred as he opened 3 vein gates on his body. A formidable aura enveloping the entire place. True Vein Realm. Feng Bing's expression became grave, remembering that when the other party had fled years ago, he had been only at the pinnacle of the Spirit Vein Realm. Just a few years had passed, and he had reached the True Vein Realm? His realm seemed somewhat unstable, but indeed, it was the genuine True Vein Realm. "Are you surprised? Back when I fortunately escaped, the entire country sought me. I was like a rat hiding in the crevices, quietly planning my revenge. Unfortunately, you were too powerful," 13th Master said through gritted teeth. "In fact, I've joined Ancient Nether for only a month. In a month, I became a martial artist of the True Vein Realm. The power of Ancient Nether is beyond your imagination. So what? Even with such powerful strength, we will not become dogs of Ancient Nether, the calamity they brought back then. I believe no human from Yuan Central Continent will forget," Feng Bing said with a resolute expression, shouting loudly and swinging his great hammer directly at 13th Master. Although 13th Master was of the True Vein Realm, after all, he only had Johnny and Janair as his subordinates. On the side of the Blood Wolf Guard, everyone was a martial artist of the Condensing Vein Realm, and among them were Array Masters. With the support of the formation, outnumbering their opponents, they could still hold on for a while regardless of the intensity of the battle on their side. The elder in the red robe by the furnace did not pay attention from the beginning to the end. He just stirred the fresh blood in the pot alone, his eyes fervently fixed on the 2 beads spinning in midair. "Since you have come, then come out," the elder said indifferently. "You from Ancient Nether really are reckless." Du Tianyin walked on air, surrounded by dark blue spiritual energy, and sneered. "You dare to appear so brazenly." Chapter 53. I'd Subjects 51 to 3 Emperor Pulse Realm Powerhouses. Times have changed. My Ancient Nether tribe is rising again, and this is no longer the era of your human race," the elder said indifferently. Du Tianyin's gaze became focused as he looked at the 2 beads floating in the air and said, "It seems your Ancient Nether tribe hasn't given up on this experiment. Trying to fuse the battle body, it's simply impossible. My Ancient Nether tribe will always have a pioneering and innovative spirit, never content with the status quo like your human race." Self-satisfied, the elder said lightly. Then, the elder took off his red robe, and his entire appearance underwent a dramatic change. His body grew to a height of 2 meters. A pair of bull horns sprouted from his head. His eyes bulged significantly. His nose became high and proud, and 2 streams of white air snorted from his nostrils. His mouth appeared very wide. He had little hair on the top of his head, and his expression was fierce and terrifying. I didn't expect to be so lucky as to encounter a pure-blooded ancient nether, Du Tianyin said with a relaxed smile. The elder radiated the formidable aura of the empty vein realm. His gaze toward Du Tianyin flickering uncertainly. Suddenly, he stretched out his fingers, and dark spiritual energy formed 5 tangible spiritual fingers that he thrust at Du Tianyin. Since you've delivered the 100 great battle bodies to my doorstep, I won't be polite in accepting them. Du Tianyin lifted his right hand and directly obliterated the 5 spiritual energy fingers in his palm afterward. He stepped out like an arrow, a whirlwind howling at his feet, arriving in front of the furnace and reaching for the 2 beads. The elder snorted coldly. His aura becoming even more turbulent, dark spiritual energy coiled around his arms as he struck a vicious blow toward Du Tianyin's chest with a fierce expression. You're still far from capable. Du Tianyin laughed loudly as with a bang. The 5th vein, gate, illusion blood, opened on his body. The might of the esteem vein realm took the form of tangible white rays, piercing the sky and slightly distorting the space around him. The elder's face showed great shock and he couldn't react in time, directly being slapped away by Du Tianyin, esteem vein realm. The elder stood up, wiping the fresh blood from the corner of his mouth. His gaze fixed on Du Tianyin. Thanks for the gift, Du Tianyin laughed loudly, reaching for the 2 beads. Enough, the farce is over. Just then, an exasperated roar of disappointment was heard. Spiritual energy suddenly surged violently. In the sky, gathering into strands, followed by the crackling sounds of explosions, space collapsed, and a pitch-black, immensely deep hole suddenly appeared. My lord, upon seeing the black hole appear, the elder quickly kneeled in worship. Useless. You screwed up such a simple task. A majestic voice emanated from the black hole. The moment the black hole appeared, Du Tianyin tensed all over, his heart thumping wildly for no reason as he felt an incredibly powerful force locking onto him. Distantly, he stared at the black hole in the sky, from which boundless dark chi spilled out, and he could vaguely see a throne with a man seated upon it. An Emperor Pulse Realm expert, Du Tianyin said with an ugly expression. An Emperor Pulse Realm expert had already refined a true fate golden body, their every move imbued with the profound truths of heaven and earth, carrying the might to destroy heaven and obliterate earth. The moment the black hole locked onto him, Du Tianyin knew the situation was grave. Considering the incalculable value of 200 great battle bodies, how could the ancient Nether tribe trust an empty vein realm tribesman with such a task, allowing him to reap the benefits? Come at me if you want to kill or slice me, you Nether tribe remnants, like sewer rats. One day you will be completely eradicated. Du Tianyin, fearless, said with a hint of fury. Hand over the items, the voice from the black hole commanded. What is that? Du Tianyin asked with a look of alarmed suspicion. We have researched the fusion of the 100 great battle bodies for tens of thousands of years. Your human race should know that the fusion of a battle body requires Emperor's blood. The voice inside the black hole said indifferently, how would I have Emperor's blood? I'm not a descendant of a great emperor. Du Tianyin's complexion changed, yet he still denied it. Indeed, in history there was an Emperor Du Tian, but he had nothing to do with Du Tianyin. It was just a similarity in their names. We've laid such a grand trap to lure you here. We naturally have complete confidence, the authoritative voice from the black hole said. Open his storage ring. Yes, my lord, the elder beside hurriedly nodded, walking towards Du Tianyin. Du Tianyin's face drastically changed. How could the other party know about him possessing Emperor's blood when he had kept it so confidential? When he was young, he indeed visited the legacy land of a great emperor once. It was the legacy of Myriad Kuan Great Emperor, which contained not the true instruments or treasures of the emperor, but a drop of emperor's blood, originally. Du Tianyin thought about using that drop of emperor's blood to advance to the Emperor Pulse realm and open the 5th vein gate. Yang, do you want the 100 great battle bodies? On the other side, Reincarnation Elder asked Chu Yang. Yes, Chu Yang nodded and said, but with the current situation it seems impossible. It's just someone at the Emperor Pulse realm. At my peak, I wouldn't even give them a second look. The Reincarnation Elder said, in a while, try to get as close as you can to that furnace. I will temporarily merge my strength into your body, which will allow you to burst out with strength on par with the Emperor Pulse realm for a short time, but remember, you We'll only have a few seconds before the strength disappears. That is the limit your body can withstand, or else you would burst. Chu Yang pondered for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, "All right, let's take the risk." The elder was holding Du Tianyan's storage ring, trying to break the seal on it. On the side of the Blood Wolf Guard, the struggle was still unresolved. Feng Bing wielded his massive hammer with fierce agility, growing more and more valiant as the battle progressed, making it difficult to determine a victor for the time being. They were but small fry, not worthy of the ancient Nether's attention. Even 13th Master was nothing more than a dog of the ancient Nether. Here, 13th Master's power at the True Vein Realm was unmatched in the arena. Even with 10 members of the Blood Wolf Guard, they were still being suppressed. Cloaked in dark demonic chi, the air exploded with sound as 13th Master's palm descended. Everyone from the Blood Wolf Guard evaded, giving way to its sharp ferocity, but only Chu Yang charged forward, and then he was sent flying by a palm strike. His trajectory, however, was towards the location of the furnace. "Teacher, now is the time," Chu Yang shouted loudly. This loud shout from Chu Yang also drew the attention of everyone present. With an Emperor Pulse Realm powerhouse dominating the scene, a mere Spirit Vein Realm ant dared to yell so audaciously, noisy. The voice from the black hole sounded impatient and couldn't even bother to take action itself. With just the sound of those two words, Chu Yang immediately felt the air around him being sealed off, as heaps of air compressed and rushed towards him as if about to burst him open. Just when Chu Yang's consciousness was about to collapse, a surge of power flowed from the ring into his body. Chapter 54. Subjects 21. Chapter 54. Ning family. After this power merged with Chu Yang, a gleam flashed across his eyes and cracks began to appear in the space around him. Then, with a loud bang, the space around him actually shattered. Boundless might burst forth from Chu Yang's body, and above him, the sky filled with billowing clouds and radiant mists, while violent winds enveloped the entire mountaintop. Strands of reincarnation power permeated his surroundings, with principles in utter disarray and space, constantly breaking and healing in an endless cycle. He was like a supreme overlord, with the fate of everything in the world in his grasp. All beings are mere ants, only I am worthy to be emperor. Chu Yang slowly stood in the air. With a gentle clench of his fist, he saw the space before him shatter substantially. "Move it, don't dawdle," the reincarnation elder shouted, a reminder from inside the ring. Chu Yang quickly snapped out of his bewilderment with the power, finding the spatial constriction around him as flimsy as an illusion, meaningless. He then stepped forward and arrived in front of the two beads. The silhouette within the black hole changed color drastically, sensing the might emanating from Chu Yang, and a huge hand enveloped in black mist reached out, covering the heavens and descending toward him. Around Chu Yang's fist, the power of reincarnation swirled, colliding with the giant hand. Instantly a boom resounded, energy pouring out in an explosion. A massive mushroom cloud soared into the sky. "Run!" Du Tianyin bellowed at the Blood Wolf Guard nearby, then stepped into the void, fleeing into the distance. The Blood Wolf Guard present all reacted, each frantically running down the mountain. At the moment the explosion sounded, another giant hand emerged from the black hole, reaching towards the two beads. Chu Yang was not to be outdone, his hand filled with reincarnation power. As they both reached for the beads, then they saw the rotating beads forcibly separated, the hand from the black hole snatching the dark demon body, while Chu Yang obtained the azure cloud battle body. "Move, time is running out," the reincarnation elder inside the ring urged anxiously. "Damn it." The person within the black hole seemed to rage, conjuring another colossal heavenly demon palm to smite Chu Yang. Chu Yang did not dare to linger in battle. His reincarnation power surged, and he opened a space gate. With one step, he entered the space gate. The colossal palm followed, space shattered, the gate crumbled, but Chu Yang had vanished. The black hole hovered silently in midair, the entire mountain peak reduced to a level plain. It's been tens of thousands of years since someone dared to snatch something from the hands of ancient Nether, a calm voice spoke, carrying unimaginable fury. Like the deceptive calm before a sudden storm, Chu Yang weakly opened his eyes, feeling completely powerless, his body experiencing an extreme sense of weakness. In his blur, it seemed someone was feeding him, but he lacked even the strength to open his eyes. Desiring nothing more than to fall back into a deep sleep that could plunge day into night, night deepened, and the clear chirping of cricket-like insects resounded through the woods, the moon rising above the willow tips placidly Hanging in the sky like a giant disc, the caravan made its way along a forest path, the leading elder looking at the deepening twilight and announced loudly, "Let's camp here for the rest and continue tomorrow. We should reach Beacon Fire City by then." With about 20 people and 3 horse-drawn carriages, the guards around the carriages all wore matching green shirts with a large Ning embroidered on the back. At that moment, a loud shout came from the rear of a carriage. "Miss, the young man you saved yesterday has woken up." Chu Yang weakly opened his eyes, feeling much less fatigued than before, but the spiritual energy within his body felt completely drained. He didn't rush to resume his cultivation. Instead, he took in the scenery around him. It seemed he was inside the compartment of a carriage, the air filled with a light fragrance reminiscent of a perfume used by women. Before Chu Yang could take a closer look, the carriage curtain was lifted, and a woman in a green long dress appeared before him. "You're awake," the woman said with a smiling face, her voice sounding very gentle. "Yes, may I ask where I am?" Chu Yang nodded with a puzzled expression, asking curiously, "We are from the Ning family of Beacon Fire City. We had just finished trading supplies in another city and found you fainted by the roadside on our way back. I saved you," the woman said with a smile. "My name is Ning Yuyan." "Thank you, my name is Chu Yang," Chu Yang quickly said with gratitude. "For this life-saving grace, I owe you a great debt. If there's anything you need in the future, please feel free to command me." Ning Yuyan smiled and shook her head. "I didn't save you looking for repayment. You're still very weak. Rest well." Watching Ning Yuyan leave, Chu Yang began to communicate with Ink Elder. "Teacher, are you there?" The voice from inside the ring sounded somewhat weakened. Ink Elder spoke slowly. "Yang, am all right, just that my divine soul's power has been used too frequently. I might need to sleep for a while. Take good care of yourself for now. And if you encounter any medicine that can restore a divine soul, remember to keep an eye out for me." "I understand, teacher," Chu Yang said with concern. "I will find the medicine to restore the divine soul as soon as possible." Afterward, Chu Yang began to sit cross-legged, circulating the step battle immortal Ju, slowly absorbing spiritual energy to recover himself. Tremendous spiritual energy flowed into his body, healing his organs, flesh, and bones bit by bit. And the feeling of weakness on Chu Yang's body also gradually dissipated. He discovered that after merging Ink Elder's power into his body, although the side effects were significant, he had unwittingly reached the peak of the spirit vein realm, just one step away from unlocking Xian Gu and advancing to the condensing vein realm. This was an unexpected gain. The night sky, sprinkled with stars, looked extraordinarily beautiful. The evening breeze was gentle, rustling the green leaves on the branches, softly caressing the earth. The caravan had already set up camp. The guards started to set up pots for boiling water, gathering around the campfire, preparing a well-deserved dinner after a long day. The maid, Shui, accompanied Ning Yuyan to one side, bringing up the freshly cooked meat soup. "Shui, you eat too, don't mind me," Ning Yuyan said with a smile. Then, the elder leading the caravan approached with a worried expression. "Miss, is that man awake? Did you not ask about his identity?" "Uncle Ning, it's fine. I'm quite good at judging people, and he doesn't seem like a profoundly wicked person," Ning Yuyan said, shaking her head. "The miss is kind-hearted, since you insist on keeping him with the caravan. I will not force the issue." Uncle Ning pondered for a moment, then said, "But I still hope you would keep your distance from him. After all, appearances can be deceiving. Let him leave once we reach Beacon Fire City." "I understand. Thank you, Uncle Ning," Ning Yuyan said, nodding her head with a smile. A silent night passed. The night watch guard yawned as the first light of dawn began to appear at the edge of the sky, and daylight gradually broke. Chapter 55. Chu Yang stepped down from the carriage and stretched lazily as he watched the morning glow redden half of the sky. He walked up to the 2 guards who had been on night watch and asked with a smile, "Big brothers, could you tell me how far it is from here to Mysterious Yuan City?" "Mysterious Yuan City is to the south. It would take at least 7 days on a desert flying horse," the 2 guards replied warily. One of them with an unfriendly face said, "Kid, if your injuries are healed, you should leave. The carriage you have been sleeping in these past few days was originally meant for our young lady. Don't overstay your welcome." Chu Yang just smiled and did not say much more, being unfamiliar with the place. He naturally intended to follow the convoy to the nearby city. Once he reached the city, he would naturally leave. The convoy traveled smoothly towards Beacon Fire City without encountering any dangers along the way. However, during these days, Chu Yang had grown quite familiar with Ning Yuyan, who was the second young miss of the great Ning family from Beacon Fire City in charge of overseeing the family's commercial fleet. This time, she personally went to negotiate business in other cities and coincidentally saved Chu Yang on her way back. At the time, the space gate opened due to the interference of ancient nether. The spatial coordinates went haywire, leaving even him clueless about where he would end up. Now, it seemed the situation was not too bad, at least he was still in the extreme west region. Beacon Fire City's West 100 feet building, standing alone in the autumn sea breeze at dusk. Beacon Fire City, belonging to the Purple Sun Empire's territory, had a wide, clear river flowing slowly in front of its city walls, resembling a crystalline, silver-lit giant dragon. The end of the river was unknown. Winding and twisting off into the horizon, Chu Yang followed the convoy across the moat and entered Beacon Fire City. The scene inside the city was much more bustling than he had imagined, not to mention that the sides of the streets were already full, with hawkers shouting and selling all sorts of spiritual medicines, divine weapons, and secret martial arts manuals. At the center of the streets, which were already packed with crowds, there were young men with swords at their waists, young men carrying curved blades on their backs, and even young men riding precious monster beasts. From the pavilions and courtyards on both sides of the street, ladies of good families and beauties from smaller households stood high in the buildings, observing the young talents passing by in hopes of finding their ideal gentleman. Miss Ning, your Beacon Fire City is quite lively indeed, Chu Yang commented with a smile. Today is the day the Heavenly Sword Sect comes to Beacon Fire City to recruit disciples. Naturally, it's much busier than usual, Ning Yuyan replied with a smile. The Heavenly Sword Sect? Chu Yang's interest was piqued. He did want to join a sect, as that would not only provide him with a place of refuge but also access to resources needed for cultivation. Perhaps he could even find the spiritual medicine needed to restore the divine soul of Ink Elder, but Chu Yang didn't know the strength of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Sensing Chu Yang's hesitation, Ning Yuyan chuckled and explained, although the Heavenly Sword Sect is only a third-rate force in the extreme west region, its sect Master Yubuli is indeed a powerhouse of the esteem vein realm. Miss Ning, how do you differentiate between first-rate, second-rate, and third-rate forces? Chu Yang asked earnestly. He had never left Qingyang village before, where the strongest person was merely Coach Mo. His understanding of the world was as blank as a sheet of paper. If a sect doesn't have a martial artist beyond the empty vein realm, then those forces are all collectively known as non-entities, Ning Yuyan explained as she walked. A sect that has at least one esteemed vein realm martial artist can be categorized as a third-rate force. If there's an Emperor Pulse Realm powerhouse at the helm, it's a second-rate force. A force that boasts a Saint Vein Realm powerhouse is a first-rate force. So the true martial holy sect is a first-rate force? Chu Yang asked, puzzled. HTML. No. Ning Yuyan shook her head and said, above the first-rate powers, there is a kind of power called the Imperial Rule Immortal Sect. Each Imperial Rule Immortal Sect has more than dozens of Saint Vein Realm experts, and they also possess various techniques left behind by the great emperors of their sect who have ascended. There are even rumors that within the Imperial Rule Immortal sects, there exist some extremely ancient ancestors who have reached the Divine Vein Realm. Hearing Ning Yuyan's introduction, Chu Yang was silent, his fists clenched tight. It was at this moment that he realized just how insignificant he truly was. After a long while, he suddenly lifted his head, his eyes bright and resolute, and said firmly, Miss Ning, I have made up my mind. I want to participate in the disciple selection of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chu Yang had also thought it through. No matter how powerful the other party was, he couldn't set his sights too high, and must make progress step by step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. He believed that one day, he would have the strength to contend with that tremendous entity. Okay. Then be careful, young Master Chu. Ning Yuyan nodded, encouraging him. Go for it. I believe you can definitely pass the selection. I have no way to repay the life-saving grace of Miss Ning. If you need anything in the future, you can come to find me at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chu Yang replied earnestly. After bidding farewell to Ning Yuyan, Chu Yang followed the crowd and headed towards the center of the city, in the residence of Ministry Counselor who, the deep silence of the night was tranquil in the thick darkness. All of who residence's personnel were gathered in the main hall, with hearts in their throats. The dim night seemed like a silent behemoth that swallowed the whole world. The hall was brightly lit, and the people were in a state of panic, before Su Zime and others had come. Ministry counselor who had tried to gather everyone together using the same method, but it was useless. Come morning, someone would still be dead. The servants who remained in whose residence were only there for the sake of the several times higher wages. Otherwise, they would have left long ago. Su Zime found a recliner in the hall, yawned, and began to sleep on the chair. Not long after, a plaintive and sorrowful song rose within whose residence. The singing was filled with tragedy, sounding like a mix of grinding teeth and a woman's sobbing. It made one's skin crawl and was extremely uncomfortable to the ears. In front of the rooms in the eastern courtyard, Wang Tao, Xing Lin, and Xiao Yi each held a torch in their hands. The lanterns lit on both sides of the courtyard cast a red glow on everyone's faces. "Where is that singing coming from?" Wang Tao asked with a frown. All three leaned in to listen, but the singing sometimes seemed far and sometimes near, spreading from all directions, making it impossible to discern the source. Well, search room by room. "I refuse to believe it can hide," Wang Tao said with a cold snort. "Brother Wang would better be careful," Xiao Yi cautioned from the side. "Mere lurkers. If it really had any power, it wouldn't resort to these little tricks." Wang Tao nodded yet replied disdainfully. Then the three of them began their search, starting with each room in the eastern courtyard, whose residence was not very large, and after searching until midnight, they found nothing. However, the woman's singing was still ongoing. "This is a bit strange," Xing Lin said, frowning slightly. Chapter 56. A Night Without Words. Several people had been busy all evening, but had achieved absolutely nothing. Dawn began to break, and members of the Divine Sun Holy Sect returned to the main hall. Wang Tao was the first to inquire. "Ministry counselor who, did anything happen last night?" Nothing, Ministry counselor who quickly shook his head, responding, "I just checked the names. Everyone is safe and sound. It seems that the person is only capable of that much, masquerading as a ghost, only knowing how to pull off small tricks." Wang Tao breathed a sigh of relief, saying. Su Zime, who was beside them, stood up from the recliner, stretched his back, and said to Wang Tao, "Young man, I see darkness on your brow. Perhaps you are facing an imminent blood disaster." "What do you mean?" Wang Tao frowned and asked. Su Zime did not answer but just smiled faintly, then walked outside the hall on his own, stretching his limbs in the early morning sun. "Let's all calm down. I've had the servants prepare breakfast. You've all been busy the whole night. Go and have something to eat." Ministry counselor who quickly interjected, coaxingly speaking, "I still hope you can stay a few more days to help me catch the murderer as soon as possible." Wang Tao glanced at Su Zime and said indifferently, "I'm going to the latrine." Then he left on his own. During breakfast, everyone sat down, but after a long wait, Wang Tao still did not show up. Xiao Gizi joked, "Could your brother Wang have fallen into the pit?" "They'll go call him." Xing Lin frowned but still managed to suppress the anger in his heart, hastily leaving the side hall. Before long, a young maid came running in, trembling and frantic, exclaiming, "Master, young master, Wang Tao is dead." "Dead?" Ministry counselor Huscup, which he had just picked up, fell to the ground. His complexion turned ashen as he stood up and rushed outside while asking the maid for details. Wang Tao was dead, not in the latrine, but in his room. This morning a maid passed by his room and, smelling a strong scent of blood, curiously opened the door to Wang Tao's room. The scene inside was somewhat nauseating. Wang Tao lay on his bed, his head chopped off and his blood stained the entire bedsheet red. His eyes were closed and he appeared quite peaceful, as if he had been beheaded in his sleep, unaware of his fate. "Didn't he say he was going to the latrine? He was fine just a while ago. How could he?" Ministry counselor who, pale and in shock, stammered, unable to finish his sentence. Xing Lin had also run over from the latrine. There was no sign of Wang Tao inside. People fell silent at the scene in the room. Xing Lin stepped forward and began to examine Wang Tao's corpse, considering the congealing of the blood at the scene and the temperature of the flesh around the wound. After completing his examination, Xing Lin was silent for a long time. Before he finally said slowly, "He has been dead for at least 6 hours. Are you joking? Who is the person who has been with us all evening and even talked with everyone this morning?" Xiao Yi was ashen-faced, still unwilling to believe. "This task may be beyond our capabilities." Xing Lin pondered for a moment, then told Ministry Counselor Hu, "I apologize, Ministry Counselor Hu, but we give up on this task." I'll reclassify it when I get back and see if any senior brothers are willing to come over. Ministry counselor, who was anxious but knew he could not force them to stay. That morning, Xing Lin did not even eat. He and Xiaoyu left 10-Mile Town and returned to the Divine Sun Holy Sect. Young Master Su, are you also leaving? Ministry counselor, who asked Su Zime and the others. Ministry counselor, who, would you like to watch a good show? Su Zime said with a smile, what kind of good show? Ministry counselor, who asked somewhat nervously. Afterward, Su Zime called Ministry counselor Hu, Xiaogizi, and Lin Ruhu together and secretly gave them a few instructions. Observing the trio's odd expressions, Su Zime said, if you're scared, you don't have to do it, I can solve it alone, what's there to fear? My Hu family has already become like this. Ministry counselor, who reflected for a moment before making up his mind. That day, some more servants resigned and left the Hu residence, no matter how high the salary. One had to be alive to spend it. Perhaps Wang Tao's death had delivered too great a shock, becoming the last straw that broke the camel's back. After all, the title of a disciple from the Divine Sun Holy Sect still carried considerable weight. After eating breakfast, Su Zime moved a reclining chair and lounged leisurely on it, soaking up the sun. He pondered about advancing to the true vein realm, having been at the peak of the condensing vein realm for some time already. Then you could see him slowly activating the power within the sphere. The third vein gate of the true vein realm, Zhao Yingfeng, was located at the chest. The unblocking of the vein gate went incredibly smoothly with the double enhancement of the power of the divine vein realm and the 10-vein fruit. The third vein gate was instantly opened. It was as if he was demolishing decayed wood, encountering not a trace of obstruction. With a boom, the surging spiritual energy flowed through Su Zimei's body like a great river that had broken through a dam. The waters of the yellow river come from the sky, rushing to the sea, never to return. The rich spiritual energy rapidly cleansed Su Zimei's entire body, bit by bit strengthening his internal and external muscles and bones. Luan Quan, Xian Gu, Zhao Yingfeng. These three vein gates formed a small circulation, with the spiritual energy autonomously circulating and merging among them. 12 vein gates formed a grand circulation, with every three forming a small circulation. Su Zime felt that the spiritual energy in his body had become at least several times more robust. Once, he opened the fourth vein gate, Kuan Hai. He would possess the basic ability to fly. In the very center of the Hu residence courtyard, many low-level spiritual medicines were planted. Colorful and vibrant, blossoming flowers surrounded by butterflies dancing among them, and Ministry Counselor Hu's 4-year-old daughter was running through the flowers, happily chasing butterflies. Brother Su, look, I caught another butterfly. Hu Yingying ran over to Su Zime, boasting, very good. Su Zime slightly bent down and reached out his right hand to pinch Hu Yingying's chubby cheek. He pinched the little girl's cheek almost to the point of deformation. Hu Yingying, with tears in her eyes, touched her puffed, red pinched cheek and ran off crying towards Ministry Counselor Hu to tell on him. Behind her came the sound of Su Zimei's hearty laughter. After a day of calm, the Hu residents inevitably welcomed the night. The sun set, and as the light faded away, the hearts of all within the Hu residence seemed to be harshly clenched. In the hall, Ministry Counselor Hu held a wine cup, drinking one cup after another, seemingly to fortify himself with courage. Brother Su, are you really confident? Xiaogizi asked with some worry. Would I undertake something if I wasn't confident? Su Zime replied with a smile. I believe in Brother Zimo, Lin Ruhu said, nodding in agreement. The group watched the pitch-black night sky as the haunting, melancholy song sounded once again. Chapter 57. The night seemed to be shrouded in a layer of eerie gauze, and the woman's singing became more and more oppressive in the hall. Su Zime smiled at Ministry Counselor Hu, then drew the tyrant shadow from behind his back and stabbed himself in the abdomen. As the curved blade entered his body, there was no gush of blood as imagined. Instead, Su Zimei's entire body became illusory. Xiaogizi and his two companions exchanged glances, each swallowing hard. It's just suicide, what is there to be afraid of? Lin Ruhu blurted out, and with that, he also took a knife and drove it into his own belly. Seeing this, Ministry Counselor Hu and Xiaogizi nodded at each other, then clenched their teeth and made the same move with their knives. The bodies of the 4 men lay quietly in the hall, the night growing thicker, the dim light from the nearby lamp beginning to flicker. As the curved blade entered their bodies, Suzume and the others felt no pain at all, only a sense that the scene before their eyes was becoming surreal, the hall's vista starting to distort. When their vision returned to normal, Ministry Counselor who was surprised to find themselves seated at the dining table in the side hall. The leftovers on the table had not been cleared away, the fish in the bowls emanating a faint fishy scent. How can this be? Ministry Counselor who was somewhat confused. He remembered that after dinner that night, he had clearly seen the servants clean up the table before they went to the hall. Ministry Counselor who stood up, and at the entrance to the side hall, the only two remaining servants of who residents were standing. The two servants had their eyes closed tight. Ministry Counselor who heavily patted their shoulders twice. Neither of them showed any reaction, appearing to breathe steadily, just as if they were asleep. Looking at the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Suzume stood up and said with a smile, "Night is coming, and the whole 10-mile town will be enveloped in dreams. And before the dawn arrives, people will return from the dream to reality." You mean to say that everything we've experienced since our dinner, including committing suicide, was all a dream? Ministry Counselor who asked in astonishment. Shallow dreams wake with a start, yet deep dreams cannot be escaped but through suicide, Suzume explained. I understand now, that's what happened to Wang Tao before. Xiao Gizi suddenly lit up, exclaiming, Wang Tao and the others patrolled who residence for an entire night that day. All of that was just a dream. In reality, everyone had already fallen asleep, easy prey for the slaughter. No wonder. When daylight came the next day and the dream returned to reality, we found that Wang Tao had already been dead for 6 or 7 hours. It turns out that he was already killed by someone during the dream that night. That's one way to understand it. Like tonight, we actually already fell into the dream after we finished eating. Suzume nodded and said, as for what happened later, including clearing the table on Ministry Counselor Huss orders, are going to the hall, and even the suicide, all were merely experiences within the dream. I see. Ministry Counselor who nodded in realization, then asked in confusion, young Master Su, who then is the murderer? We need only to see who's missing from the people who were eating with us to know who the murderer is, Suzume replied with a smile. The group looked at one another, all wearing faces of confusion. Xiao Gizi pondered aloud. Aren't all of us here? Are you sure? Suzume asked, a sly smile curving his lips. The next moment, all three of them widened their eyes simultaneously, as if a flash of insight shot through their minds, and they shouted the name together, Hu Yingying. How is that possible? My daughter is only 4 years old. Ministry Counselor who staggered back 2 steps, refusing to believe it. Wasn't your daughter severely ill for a period of time before the calamity struck Hu residence? Suzume looked at Ministry Counselor who earnestly and asked, word by word, are you sure she truly is your daughter? Ministry Counselor Huss' face turned deathly pale as he carefully thought about his daughter's recent behaviors. Indeed, his daughter had seemed a bit strange to him since she recovered from the severe illness, but he never paid much attention to it, attributing it to the unpredictability of a child's character. The plaintive and desolate singing continued to echo in his ears, but unlike the elusive feeling in the dream, this time the singing sounded very real. Ministry Counselor who walked out of the side hall, searching for the origin of the singing. Along the way, Xiao Gizi asked with confusion, Brother Su, since all of us were deeply trapped in the dream before, why didn't she just kill us all at once instead of one by one? To be precise, it's not that she didn't want to kill us all at once, Suzume said with a smile, but rather she was farming us. Farming? Xiao Gizi muttered to himself, apparently not quite understanding the term. Suzume just smiled and did not elaborate further. Ministry Counselor who led the way, with the singing growing clearer and clearer until they all stopped in front of a small courtyard. This is the courtyard where Yinger's room is located, Ministry Counselor who said with an embarrassed expression. They walked into the courtyard and kicked open the door at its center. The singing stopped abruptly. In the room, in front of the window, Hu Yingying sat on the windowsill in a pure white long dress, swinging her slender legs in the air. She looked at the intruders with surprise, holding something resembling a harmonica to her lips, gently blowing into it. Beneath Hu Yingying's feet lay a small red creature without limbs, resembling a dolphin in appearance. At the arrival of the guests, the Creature slowly opened its eyes, its light body drifting in the air like a jellyfish. Its nose and mouth were so small they could be almost ignored, and its round, bulging eyes looked very cute and innocent. Yinger, is it really you? Ministry Counselor Huss' voice trembled as he spoke. Daddy, what are you talking about? Hu Ying asked with pure, innocent eyes. You are not Ying. Ministry Counselor Hu fell silent for a moment, then slowly retreated to one side. Hu Ying was not flustered and merely looked at the people with a mocking expression. The red creature hovered in the air, looking ready to attack at any moment. I'm saying you folks from Divine Gate should have stayed in Old Land. What are you doing stirring up trouble in Extreme West region? Su Zime stepped forward and asked with a smile, It seems there is someone among you who has seen the world. Hu Ying let out a light yelp and said, It was you who broke through my dream world, wasn't it? Your dream world? Su Zime shook his head and laughed, saying, If I'm not mistaken, all the dreams here were set up by this little fellow, right? Su Zime looked at the red creature, clicking his tongue and said, Nightmare Beast, the 7th-ranked existence on the list of remarkable creatures in the world. Chapter 58. To be precise, Su Zime's purpose for coming to 10 Mile Town was for this nightmare beast. Dreams are a branch of the River of Time, and after reaching the Esteem Vein realm in his past life, Su Zime should have set out on his own path of the martial path. But at that time he was very confused about his martial path, hesitating and unable to take a further step on his own martial path. It was not until he arrived at 10 Mile Town by accident that the nightmare beast was not discovered so quickly in his past life. Having had a long growth period with its dream powers covering hundreds of miles, it was under the life and death crisis of the nightmare beast that Su Zime unintentionally understood the mysteries of the River of Time, past, present, future. He carved out a martial path of his own and successfully created the cultivation technique Soul Great Freedom Ju that he now practices. The dreamscape of the nightmare beast greatly assisted Su Zime's cultivation, and whether he could break through to the Divine Vein realm and evolve his martial path to a higher realm, this nightmare beast played a crucial role. The dreamscape is one of the branches of the River of Time. Just like when you are doing something in reality and suddenly realize that the scene you are in feels very familiar, as if you have experienced it a long time ago. If you think about it carefully, you will find that long before you had seen a fragment or image of your future in a dream. It's just that you were completely unaware of it at the time. In his past life, Su Zime captured this nightmare beast, which contributed indispensably to the evolution of his martial path, yet the nightmare beast later died, but unexpectedly. In this new life, it still could not escape his demon palm. The food of the nightmare beast is dreams, just like Xiaogizi asked before, why it traps everyone in dreams but does not kill them all in one go, because the nightmare beast is still in its youth and only needs to devour one person's dream a day for sustenance. The rest of the people are raised by it, ensuring that its food supply is not interrupted. Nightmare beasts are extremely rare, and as far as Su Zime knows, there is only one place in the entire Yuan central continent that has a nightmare beast, and that is the Old Land. The Old Land is one of the 10 great forbidden lands and has long been occupied by an organization called Divine Gate. In each era, apart from the great emperors of successive generations, there are only a few people who can enter the Old Land. It seems you know quite a bit, Hu Ying said with a look of surprise as she watched Su Zime. Then she waved her right hand, and a pale white spiritual energy filled the air around her as the nightmare beast roared towards the sky. Its smooth body soared towards Su Zime. Seeing this, Xiaogizi quickly grabbed his iron stick and executed the mad demon stick technique with layers of stick shadows stacking up like mountains, leaving a whoosh-whoosh sound in the air. Dark black spiritual energy surged on the iron stick, which forcefully smashed down on the body of the nightmare beast. But what was strange was that the nightmare beast did not dodge or evade, and the iron stick actually went straight through its body, hitting nothing. The nightmare beast's mouth opened slightly and emitted plop 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 bubble-like sonic waves. Xiaogizi instantly started bleeding from all orifices, feeling as if a huge stone was hurtling towards him. He was sent flying, his body heavily crashing into the door of the house. Immediately afterward, Xiaogizi leapt up into the air, wiped the blood from his face, and looked at the nightmare beast with a grave expression. You all step back, ordinary attacks are useless against it. Su Zime waved his hand and said, Nightmare beasts actually don't exist in the real world, they reside in dimensional space, which allows them to devour others' dreams at will. Spiritual energy surged within Suzume as 3 vein gates simultaneously opened. This was the first time he was using the power that truly belonged to him. The power of soul. Great freedom juice stemmed from the river of time. Strands of space-time force permeated the palm of his hand. Watching the nightmare beast charging toward him, Suzume concentrated the space-time force in his hand into a large net, enveloping the entire nightmare beast within. The nightmare beast let out a roar, its small mouth blowing out small bubbles of sound waves intermittently. Suzume smiled faintly as the space-time net in his hand began to condense. The nightmare beast shrieked, its body also shrinking bit by bit. Eventually reduced to the size of a fist, Suzume grabbed the nightmare beast and directly placed it into his mouth. Since advancing to the true vein realm, he had carved out a space within his body somewhat akin to a martial artist's. Dantian, within this space, countless points of light shone, like the stars in the night sky, dazzling and captivating. Once Suzume opens another vein gate and advances to the empty vein realm, he will be able to condense true fate. And these speckles of stars were the Taoist charm for condensing true fate. At this moment, the nightmare beast had been devoured into this space, frantically struggling and colliding, but to no avail because the dimensional space it occupied was not in the same dimension as the space inside Suzume's body. Simply put, the space it was in had been confined by the space within Suzume's body, drifting endlessly within this space, unable to escape. What have you done? Hu Yingying's complexion changed drastically. She tried to summon the nightmare beast, but found that the connection between them had been severed. Shall we discuss another matter? Suzume asked with a smile. What matter? Hu Yingying took a few steps back, asking with a suspicious and startled tone, You help me bring out another nightmare beast, and I'll spare your life, Suzume said. In your dreams? Hu Yingying snorted coldly and then jumped straight out of the window beside her. Suzume slowly drew the tyrant shadow from behind his back, and a slash of his blade seemed to turn space itself into a sliver of sky. The dark blade light, carrying the chi of annihilation, struck Hu Yingying's back directly. Similarly, a black aura emanated from Hu Yingying's body, followed by the appearance of a sinister black air-condensed face in midair. That face stared at Suzume intently for a moment, then transformed into a stream of polar light, fleeing far away. Xiao Gizi, holding an iron stick, was about to pursue but was stopped by Suzume. Don't go. I'm waiting for her to bring another nightmare beast to seek revenge on me next time, Suzume said with a smile. He gazed in the direction where the black mist vanished. Hearing that the people of Divine Gate were all rolling in wealth, they occupied the old land, one of the forbidden lands, which, despite its dangers, was also full of opportunities. As the black fog departed, Hu Yingying's body also fell to the side. Ministry counselor who immediately rushed over and picked up his daughter. It's too late. She's already dead, Suzume said, shaking his head as he looked into Ministry Counselor Hu's pleading eyes. Then he took the harmonica from Hu Yingying's body, because the nightmare beast was in its juvenile phase. The dream it constructed had many flaws. Therefore, it necessitated the playing of this harmonica to perform the requiem, numbing the senses of the people within that dream. Chapter 59. A silent night. Having dealt with the matters at Hu residence, Suzume and his companions were ready to leave. Hu Yingying, in the end, could not be saved, and Ministry Counselor who could only accept this tragic fact amidst his sorrow. He told Suzume that perhaps it was because he had earned too much dishonest wealth in the first half of his life, so Tsang Tian had given him this retribution. He decided to dissolve the Hu residence, donate all his wealth to help the poor, and then live alone in a peaceful village for the rest of his life. Riding desert flying horses, the trio set off toward the true martial holy sect. From a distance, Suzume gazed at the small town rising from the land, feeling that the purpose of this trip had indeed been achieved to perfection. By evening, the group arrived at a city named Qingfeng City. As night fell, they decided to rest in the city for the night and continue their journey back the next day. Upon entering the city, the scene was lively and bustling, with streets filled with people, mostly teenagers around 15 or 16 years old. They found an inn and went inside. Would you gentlemen like to eat, or? The shopkeeper asked, looking at them. Dinner and lodging, Xiao Gizi said as he took out a spirit crystal in response. We can certainly provide food, but I'm sorry, our inn is fully booked and has no rooms left for lodging. The shopkeeper apologized with a smile. Business is that good? Xiao Gizi casually exclaimed. It seems that this is your first time in Qingfeng City. The shopkeeper smiled and said, You may not know that tomorrow is enrollment day for Heaven Tiger Academy, which is why young people from several nearby cities have all come here. I reckon at this point, not just our inn, but likely all the inns in Qingfeng City are fully booked. Heaven Tiger Academy? Suzime smiled. He remembered that there was something quite interesting within Heaven Tiger Academy. This item was of no use to him anymore, but for Lin Ruhu, it could be an incredible opportunity. Let's have dinner first, Suzime ordered the shopkeeper. Bring us the best dishes your inn has to offer afterward. They found an empty table and sat down. Xiao Gizi looked at Suzime curiously and asked, Senior brother, I heard that the background of Heaven Tiger Academy is quite formidable. Is that true? Close enough. They are a branch of the Heavenly Tao Academy. Suzime explained. The Heavenly Tao Academy is renowned as the premier academy of Yuan Central Continent. Its history stretching so far back that it can't be traced. Legend has it that the academy was established during the Wild Desolation era. Before the era of emperors, many students who went on to become famous across the continent were taught there, including Emperor Hangyu and Emperor Mu when they were young. The main campus of Heavenly Tao Academy is located in the Central Continent, but they have also established 4 branch academies in the Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern continents. Heaven Tiger Academy in the Eastern Continent, Songlong Academy in the Western Continent, Vermilion Academy in the Northern Continent, and Black Tortoise Academy in the South Continent. It is said that each year these 4 branches hold a grand competition, and the top-performing students get the opportunity to be sent to the Central Continent to study directly at the Heavenly Tao Academy. Let's also visit Heaven Tiger Academy tomorrow, Suzime said while eating, addressing the 2 companions. So, we're not going back to the sect gate for now? Lin Ruhu asked. It won't take long, probably just one day, Suzime replied. So where are we sleeping tonight? Xiao Gizi asked. With fists this big, are you still worried about not having a room? Suzime responded in surprise. I understand. Xiao Gizi was quick on the uptake, setting down his chopsticks and walking over to the table nearby. There were 2 people sitting at that table, a young boy and a middle-aged man in a blue shirt. They looked like father and son, probably here to attend the Heaven Tiger Academy's recruitment. Do you have a room at the inn here? Xiao Gizi inquired softly, looking at the 2. Yes, we came early and booked a room in advance, the middle-aged man replied, looking puzzled at Xiao Gizi. Oh, good, Xiao Gizi nodded, and then with a fierce look on his face, said, Just now. The noise from your conversation while eating was too loud and it disturbed me. What are you going to do about it? We didn't say anything, the middle-aged man, looking startled, quickly explained. If I say you disturbed me, then you disturbed me. Do I, Xiao Gizi, look like someone who would slander others for no reason? Xiao Gizi retorted with a cold huff. Brother Xiao Gizi, the middle-aged man began with caution, but before he could finish, he was cut off as Xiao Gizi slammed his palm onto the table, causing it to split into pieces. His eyes were wide with fury. Is Xiao Gizi a name you can call casually? They'll have you know, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't make a big deal out of this. Otherwise, you'd already be headless on a normal day. Give up your 2 rooms to me and I will pretend as if nothing had happened. You're just bullying us on purpose. The boy indignantly drew the longsword from his waist, saying, It was clearly you who came late and didn't have a room, but you're falsely accusing us in order to take over our room. Jure, don't talk. The middle-aged man sternly glared at his son, then turned with a smile to Xiao Gizi, saying, The child is young and doesn't understand. Please, don't take it to heart. Since we apparently disturbed you earlier, we will let you have the 2 rooms. After speaking, the middle-aged man quickly left the inn, dragging his visibly reluctant son with him. He's quite a character, Suzime muttered, interested as he watched the father and son leave. Although the middle-aged man only had achieved the spirit vein realm in cultivation, he knew to assess the situation and what was compelling, instead of just brute force. After finishing dinner, the 3 of them returned to their rooms. There were 2 rooms in total. Suzime took one, and Lin Ruhu and Xiao Gizi shared the other. The sparkling stars shone against the pitch-black night sky. The streets, quieter now with fewer people, grew later into the night. The boy, still unconvinced, looked at his father and asked, Dad, why didn't we argue with them earlier and just gave up our rooms? We clearly weren't in the wrong, child. Being weak is the original sin, the middle-aged man said, looking into his son's stubborn eyes and patting his shoulders. Son, when you go to Heaven Tiger Academy tomorrow, you must pass the examination and then focus on cultivation. Remember the feeling of powerlessness from being weak today and make sure to become a cut above the rest when you grow up. I understand, the boy nodded. A seed of determination to grow stronger planted in his young heart. From then on, the city, ensconced in night, finally woke up along with the first light on the horizon. 20 meters below their room window, Central Street also started bustling with an increasing number of people. Chapter 60. The warm and enticing aroma of steamed buns wafted through the air as the young students who had come to enroll at Heaven Tiger Academy rose early, dressed neatly, hung their swords, and shouldered their long blades. They were ready to take the first step that would change the fate of their lives. To enter Heaven Tiger Academy and then to make a name for themselves. Suzume and his two companions finished getting ready and headed straight for Heaven Tiger Academy. At this time, Chifeng City was bustling with activity. The closer one got to the academy, the denser the crowd became. Although Heaven Tiger Academy was a branch of Heavenly Dao Academy, it wasn't just a single institution. Suzume knew that there were no fewer than 10 such academies in the extreme west region alone. Across the entire eastern continent, the number of academies even exceeded 100. These academies were the most formidable. They taught without discrimination, and no matter what your identity or race, as long as you could pass the academy's trials, they would instruct you wholeheartedly. Just think about it. Heavenly Dao Academy has been around since the Wild Desolation era through to the era of emperors, and in that time, it's impossible to know how many powerful figures have emerged from it. Whenever the academy has needed them, with a beckoning of its arms, all these former students would step forward to support such a terrifying force. Many even believe that in terms of heritage, Heavenly Dao Academy is much stronger than many imperial rule immortal sects. Brother Ching, I never imagined after our last farewell that you and I would have the chance to meet again. Brother Fan, I wish you a triumphant success on this journey to the academy. Within the lively crowd, those talented disciples who had known each other from before greeted one another. In front of the academy gates, twin white tiger statues carved from mysterious iron rock stood lifelike and imposing, though they were inanimate. They emitted an aura of regal beastly power around the clock, looking as if they would come to life at any moment, directly in front of the academy. The aspiring young students lined up neatly in 2 vertical rows and then walked towards the inside of the academy. Suzume and his group also followed the procession into Heaven Tiger Academy. All the disciples had been arranged on a very spacious open ground. The parents who had accompanied their children were also gathered on both sides of the area, making the whole scene rather chaotic and noisy. Heaven Tiger Academy's enrollment doesn't look at one's cultivation level. They only test for 2 things, talent and the way of the heart. Cultivation level, because prospective students come from different backgrounds, with varying resources from childhood, cannot directly gauge a person's potential. The methods that rely on competition, where everyone fights it out and those with the stronger fists enter the academy, are the lowest form of tests. The students stood on the open ground, gazing into the distance. At the true inner court of Heaven Tiger School, there were mountains that soared hundreds of feet high, shrouded in white mist. Disciples from the inner court riding flying monster beasts, soaring with outspread wings, buildings that were grand and majestic, academies that were meticulously arranged, with iron towers 100 stories high, and also mountain peaks shaped like swords. All the boys and girls longed for a glimpse inside the academy. If they passed the test, that place would become their cultivation grounds for the future. Elder brother, why are we here? Xiaogizi asked in confusion. For Xiaogizi, who had grown up in true martial holy sect, this Heaven Tiger School indeed seemed quite ordinary. The true martial holy sect could rival the Heavenly Dao Academy and naturally looked down upon this place. I'm here to get something, Suzume replied with a smile. The group was chatting when suddenly they saw a youth wearing a white robe, sporting a shifty appearance, approaching Suzume and the others. He looked at them and asked with a smile, "You're also here to enroll at Heaven Tiger School, aren't you? What is it?" Xiaogizi frowned and asked, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Lu Yi, just like you newcomers," the youth said with a confident smile. "You might have just arrived at the academy and are probably unclear about the situation inside, so let me explain a bit. Just like us freshmen, when we first arrive at the academy, we're bound to be oppressed and targeted by the older students. After all, wherever there are people, there are rivalries. You understand this, right?" So, us newcomers must stick together for warmth and unity. My cousin is a student from a previous cohort here at the academy and he's quite well known. He has set up a group called Wind and Rain Gate. To put it simply, it's a small community. If we freshmen join the Wind and Rain Gate by paying just 20 spirit crystals a month, he can protect us from being bullied. Watching the young man prattle on, Suzume and the others couldn't help but find it amusing. So he's trying to scam money, huh? Forget it, we're not interested. Whether we can even pass the academy's tests is another matter, Xiao Gizi said, shaking his head in refusal. I can tell you have extraordinary talent, and there should be no problem passing the academy's tests. The youth declared with conviction, right now each of you only needs to pay 20 spirit crystals to join the Wind and Rain Gate. If you miss this opportunity, the cost to join later will be more than this. I said we're not interested and I don't want to. Repeat myself, Xiao Gizi said indifferently. What's with the attitude? Wait until you're inside the academy, you'll see what's coming for you, the youth said with an ugly expression, huffing, unappreciative fools. As the youth turned to leave and prepared to swindle someone else, Xiao Gizi kicked him from behind, sending him sprawling to the ground. Then he, together with Lin Ruhu, stepped forward and started laying into the youth. Try hitting me one more time, smack. Looking for trouble, are you? Want me to call for help? Smack smack. My cousin is a second-year student at the academy. He won't let you off. Smack smack smack. Guys, I was wrong. Please stop beating me. Smack smack smack. Can you guys save me some face? Smack smack. Daddy, please spare me. Smack. Suzume stepped forward to pull Xiao Gizi and the others back, watching the youth with interest and asked, your cousin is a second year? The youth's originally white robe was now covered with footprints, and even his face bore several irregular shoe marks. He nodded vigorously like a pecking chicken. How could you do this? Even when you hit a dog, you should look at its owner, Suzume said to Xiao Gizi sternly. Let's go beat up his owner instead. Take me to see your cousin, Suzume said to the youth. The open ground where the seeking disciples currently stood was, strictly speaking, just a place where Heaven Tiger Academy tested new students. It couldn't be considered the interior of the academy, and the item Suzume wanted to retrieve was inside the academy grounds. Wanting to enter the academy without bothering with these meaningless tests, he needed an older student to show the way. The youth's cousin was named Chung Feng, and at the moment, besides the new students on this open ground, there were also some older students who had come to watch the excitement. These older students, just like the youth's cousin, wanted to recruit for their own organizations, and these fresh juniors were the best candidates.